Detroit City, where stars shine in the east, inside a safe space creating perfect vibes for poetic prophets to light up the D, with creative energy flowing over rivers, streaming through woods into universal hoods where 313's authenticity is consistent from front to back, no matter how it's cut. Innovators raised by a strong hand, warmed in a mitten thrive when real ones rock mics, spitting fire in a chilled spot where poetry is welcomed with open arms. So sit back, relax, come and get this love from your Motor City hostess, T Elice, on the B Cyde.
Come chill with vibes and verses.
What up, though? My name is Koffee Dark N Sweet. I'm here with in the B Cyde studio for Vibes and Verses. Thank you so much, T Elice, for having me. I'm going to drop a quick poem for you guys. It is called Public Education. High school taught me there was nowhere I couldn't get too fast. So my experiences added up, but I've always been good at math. So please excuse my dear audacity. Every time I solve for y, I subtract myself from all equations so that I equals 0. And when I multiply, it's absolute. Ain't no dividing me. You can't get loud enough to back me into your right angles. My perceptions are infinite, so you can find just about everything in my nothingness. I learned that nothing happens to me, only for me. And we come in threes divine, so I always add up to 9 because I'm complete. And ain't no such thing as 10 because all this shit came out of 0. You see, divinity starts in threes. Times 2, that's 6. Times 3, that's 9. Mother, daughter, life force energy. See, women have lakes in their wombs and the moon controls the tides. So I swim inside my darkness to reflect the sun and be a light. I climax in understanding. So if I carve your name as the agonizing antagonist in my story, don't get wrapped up in our similes. Two opposing ideas can be true at once. Hold my lies and your perceptions, but I always tell my truth. So when I skate pins across the thin ice of paper, thin skin, and notebooks full of men, remember, I am a dynamic protagonist. Always social, never studies. I was not interested in learning how Christopher Columbus set up in someone else's house and declared it his new home. You see, his story was written with too many broken bones and broken homes, too much bloodshed for me to understand why this wasn't written in red, like a warning to proceed with caution when it comes to these white men. So when I cut my teeth at capitalism, remember, it was your economics that taught me that the real evil is in the absence of roots. And my seeds are deeper than life itself. My biology only exists because its survival is for the fittest, and survival is a choice, so I'd be damned to waste decisions. I grew leaves no one wanted to eat unless it was dark or they needed poison, and I cried whole oceans of crocodile tears and watched in horror as you polluted my streams with broken promises and empty dreams. But I know antibodies might cure my infection but won't stop my fever. Because when I get to burning up, I will kill off what I need to survive. PE taught me to use my body for competition, and that locker rooms were safe spaces even for the predators. And you can't outrun destiny, but if you quit the race, that's a failure. Not enough broken promises to build sustenance in my emptiness. Remember, I multiply by the zeros. I was in computers collecting data, click-clacking on keyboards, Google searching for my fears, as if understanding my trauma was one mouse click away from being someone else's drama. On Bebo with Steve-O, trying to get him to tell me my beauty surpassed dimensions. Regardless of his intentions, I needed his attention, but him ain't raised no failure. So even after collecting repetitive E's, I was accepted into 6 different universities. But I must admit, my geographic location determined my opportunities, because when my siblings graduated from DPS with straight A's, no one was there to shake their hand but Uncle Sam. I mean, damn. Tell me what we really learn in school. I learned you break yourself when you follow all the rules. Straight A's don't matter. Not more than black lives, but little black kindergartners are more than their classmates who have died. So, fuck your grooming, I was zooming. Like I said, I got everywhere fast. But I learned that what I learned was the only thing that could save my black ass.
What up, though, y'all? It's your girl, T Elice, the Motor City Sis, and I am in studio for another Vibes and Verses. And you see I got a chocolate drop cutie over here.
Hey.
My sis, Koffee Dark N Sweet. Welcome to the B Cyde, sis.
Thanks for having me. What up, though?
Now, let me turn this little
Am I
background
supposed to be
music
able
down
to,
a little bit. Yeah, see, I can hear it in here,
You can
but
hear
you
me?
probably can't hear it.
Okay,
Yeah, I can hear
okay.
it if you want to put on, but if you know, some people like the headset, some people don't. I do it for engineer purposes, you know. But welcome. You know, guys, we have been trying to put this video together.
For a year.
Girl.
For like 2 years. I said, you know, I'm wrong.
You and me both, though. It's not even, you know what I'm saying? Listen, life has been lifing.
Yes.
But through seeing each other at the showcase,
Yes.
we were able to pull it back together. And when it's meant to be, it falls together at divine time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So listen, I got to start off this interview like I start off all of them. Hey sis, what's your poetry story?
So,
That's a good one, right?
It is a
Everybody
good
just
one.
be like, whoa.
'Cause it's so, like, okay, you know what? I've been a very avid reader since I could do that, since I could read. My family was very big on reading and books. My mom had pretty much a library in her house. There was books everywhere.
Yeah.
And the first thing I really learned how to read outside of like the basics was a poem.
Okay.
It was a poem about a kid who drew a monster in chalk, and it came to
Ooh.
life.
Ooh.
Yeah, I still remember some of that stuff. And homework, I hate you, you stink, and these kind of things. And so I was always inspired just by my natural life. It was just like always there, you know. And I was in kindergarten, and I wrote a poem that at the time I wasn't intending to write a poem. The prompt was, "What does Christmas mean to me?" And I got to fussing, you know. I got to fussing. I was like, you know, they took the Christ out of Christmas, and, you know.
Ooh, at 5.
Yes.
Wow.
And my teachers had the same reaction. So my teacher, Miss Johnson, I'll never forget, she ran out of that classroom and told all the other teachers.
Oh, for sure.
They had me, at the time I was at Coleman A. Young.
Okay.
They had me going from the kindergarten classrooms all the way up to the 6th grade classrooms, reading my poem, and you know, and then they all gave me lollipops. I'll never forget it. So that was my first experience, like, with writing and performing poetry. Like, it just all kind of happened.
To be cool.
I never decided this. It just happened. Like, you know, it just sort of happened to me in my life, and
cool.
they started putting me in programs and having me help write even stuff for the other kids to perform at, like, you know, the Thanksgiving program and the Christmas program. And so I was automatically just in that world.
Wow.
My whole life.
I think that's dope, though, because you know what? Most people don't realize, like, you know, you can expose your little ones to virtually anything.
Yes.
And they're sponges.
Yes.
You
and
were
you never know what's
exposed,
for them.
and you never know
I do
what
the
they're
same thing
going
with my
to latch
kids
on
now.
to. You know what I mean? That is such a cute story.
Yeah.
And I'm cracking up because you still remember that poem that you read.
I remember some of it, but I still remember a lot of poems from elementary school and, you know, coming up middle school, high school, because it literally has been my entire life.
So did you ever have a time, especially like, you know, in your adolescence or whatever, that you might have walked away from it because you didn't think anybody understood you?
Never.
Wow, that's
it never. Even if I wasn't performing or sharing, I'm always writing.
Okay.
Always writing poetry, and it really never has stopped. It's probably hundreds of, you know, of poems by now. Like,
Right.
you know, and so many. I've lost hundreds of poems, and I, you know,
Wow.
have over, you know, I have multiples of 10 memorized. You know, just from over the years. You know, so, and when I was in middle school, my relationship with poetry got deeper and more intentional because it wasn't cutesy anymore. You know, I was dealing with I was in middle school dealing with you know, being bullied and stuff, and people calling me dark skinned and, you know, being nerdy and all these things. So I turned to poetry as a way to express myself, you know, for things that, you know, I couldn't say, and then also to write myself well. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and to take myself back from the narrative of what you know.
Your healing.
Yeah.
Okay. I get that.
So they call me Midnight. I wrote poems called Midnight, where I just, you know, really dove into what that meant for myself and let myself, tell that story.
And I'm sure as you got older, got deeper into English and, learning the different patterns in poetry or whatever, you added all that to what was already there.
Definitely.
And this is how we get this dynamic sister right here. I dig it. I dig it. Because I loved your poem.
Thank you.
I love that. Physical education.
Public
education. You broke it all down. From phys ed all the way to biology. I peeped you. And I love that. I love that. As a former educator, we all.
Oh, are you?
Yes,
Bless your heart.
girl.
I love
That's so good
teachers.
to
Thank
see.
you. Thank you for your service.
Yes.
Yes.
So okay, so you got to go to all schools, and just spit that fire. Because they would really, really appreciate it. Everybody can,
understand
grab hold
it.
to that for sure.
Yeah.
And everything that you were saying, you were breaking down so much history, even though you said you wasn't doing social studies. I love it. It was great. So I just want you to know that it didn't go unnoticed. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and I appreciate you finally making a way to get over here so that you can share this good with me. I feel special. You know what I mean? Feel very special. Now, you said there were some poems that you wanted to do and kind of break down.
Yeah.
So let's try one of those and see,
So
how you can get it popping.
I just recently did this one at Sharp Pens.
Okay, you went to Sharp Pen. Okay.
Yeah, not this one, but the last one.
Okay.
And the sharpeners, they asked me like, oh, what do you want people to feel when you what pretty much what is that about? So I feel like this one can use more insight as to what it is that I'm saying. It's called Inside Out.
Ooh, okay. And see, sometimes my music be disturbing, so I'm gonna just cut that off.
Okay.
So that way we have the silence we need. I have it in my ear, so I pay attention.
Okay.
Now, what's the name of this
Inside Out.
Okay.
My ancestors keep calling me, these homophones ringing in my ear. Divine messages trapped in the patterns of the world, which appears to be at least one sun brighter than it's supposed to. Light shining down on a parked bench of potential, disguised as a roller coaster called the sinking ship. Strapped into a continuous loop of stagnation, pushed forward by the forced air of tradition that takes me as quickly as possible to nowhere at all. Loop-de-looping around the truth until I'm dizzy, sick, and confused. Going left, down, and backward on a ride that never moved, which I thought was really a seat, selected specifically for me, but that would mean I had a place in the world, my safety, relegated to the scraps left over after beds of lies are made. That a bastard son convinced me we're not worthy, so I abandoned the truth for a seat. At a table with no placements big enough for me, squeezing myself right in the middle of the difference between an apple and an orange, who happened to be competing for the chance to be fruit. But I didn't realize it was strange until it was time for me to be the judge. I took a bite out of both and tasted the bitterness of lemons. And then the line clicked. The only fruit that has to compete for its nature is a genetically modified organism, and I'm as organic as electric air, breathing life into the cords connected to divine source, using homophones to call out the bars my potential for prolific prose are caged in, freeing me from being tone deaf, because I'm finally listening from the inside out.
I love it. Oh, you are so intellectual. I love it. I absolutely love it. Oh, now tell me, inspiration-wise, where that came from, how that poem came about.
So, I wrote this one actually after watching poets like battle each other on Instagram.
Okay.
And I realized, just like anything else in the world, that the patterns of tradition and the need to be the need to have bars, or the need to be competitive, or the need to be in the limelight is, I remember a time period where it had affected my work in a negative way.
Gotcha.
And I had to rediscover my own voice.
Yes.
Because when I got out here and I started doing when I became Koffee Dark N Sweet, it's like I started doing erotic poetry like around the same time. Okay. And that's something that everybody asked for all the time. So it became like a they associated that with coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And after a couple years later, after rereading those poems back to myself, I was like, who wrote this? You know?
Mm-hmm.
And not just the erotic ones. There were other ones that I was just like, okay, but when did I take the pen back from God and give it to the audience? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, because I always say like God writes my poems, but
Right.
I couldn't find God in those things.
Mhm.
So I had to really sit with myself and rediscover my own voice.
Okay.
And in that process, I realized, I did a lot of things chasing that limelight, and I wanted to be featured everywhere, and I wanted to host everything, and I was doing it for a minute, and it was so much fun. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Created environments for other artists,
Yes.
but we can't get lost in that. So if you homophones are words that sound the same but mean different, right?
Right.
But if you know anything about frequencies, you know that if the word tone, you know what I'm saying, whether I mean skin tone or a ringtone,
Right.
the frequency of the word tone remains the same.
Exactly.
So
you're going to think audible. You're going to think tangible.
right.
Mhm.
So the sound waves don't have the knowledge of homophones.
Right.
They only know what you're saying.
Saying.
I'm saying tone.
Yep.
So when you say bars,
Mhm.
All I can think about is cages. So my need to be seen as this bar heavy poet and to get those oohs and ahs from the audience put my work in a cage.
Ooh.
And so now that I've processed those things, I gave God back the pen. You know what I'm saying? I'm listening from the inside out.
Yes.
Even the traditions of our ancestors, get washed away in things like holidays and these kind of things, and we get lost chasing things that aren't necessarily real. You know what I'm saying? The whole time I'm not saying I didn't go anywhere, because I have some, I've made some accomplishments in this arena. Sure. But chasing that limelight, which is the false sun I was talking about, put me in a position where I had lost myself as an artist, essentially.
You had to bring it back to the middle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Bring it back to the middle. I get exactly what you're saying, and I'm glad that you were able to even see your way through.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes, like you say, when you do finally start to make a little traction, I speak about that in one of my poems called Artistry and Ambition. What if I do manage to put myself on and I get all these things, all these accolades and stuff? Will that be enough? Or will I turn into what I hate and start dropping out other people and do?
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Because
so
it wasn't enough. I'm like, I did
Exactly.
all of that and I did all of this for people, and then also the artists who were inspired by me, what they were making, it was like, to be honest, like having an ugly baby. Like, is that really my child? Did I really inspire this?
Right.
And then I had to check myself, like, okay, nah.
We got to come another way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm glad you speak to that, because oftentimes, once again, we were talking about this earlier, we were laughing and we were saying how, very rarely do people respect poetry enough to say, don't just perform it, but tell me what it means.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that is, in looking for a way to always be able to provide something to the community that pays you back so much. You know what I mean? Because, you guys sit, you tune in to shows like this, you come out to open mics, you never know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And, those are people that embrace it. You got to find what's missing.
Yeah.
In order to make sure that, the platform you're providing will have a space. Because if we're all doing the same thing,
right,
then it will get mundane and people would stop going.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But the audience, a lot of times, will condition the artist to produce the same kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yes, and so we have to make sure as artists that we remember what we're doing this for.
Exactly.
Yes.
And that's why I'm glad I was able, that's why I named this a safe space for poets, because it's not necessarily about, you guys don't need me to get exposure. You know what I'm saying? We got the whole internet for that. You know what I mean? And then, different people who, I remember when I was coming up in poetry, you were doing good if you found one good poetry night. Or one good poetry
and not
spot
every
that you
week,
could trust.
every day of the week.
Every day of the week.
Yeah.
So you can definitely find your tribe, whatever that is.
And
you know
Detroit
what I'm saying?
specifically, because it's not like they're everywhere. But that's one of my favorite things about Detroit as well, is when I finally got, because I was doing poetry in school and in college and, writing into different literature magazines and this kind of stuff. But when I got ready to step out, like, on a stage into a scene, Detroit had one for me, and there was I go to 2-3 events in one night kind of thing, and it was so much fun, and met so many cool people.
And it's intoxicating.
Yeah.
It's intoxicating when you finally do. I remember the very first time I went to a poetry night that reminded me of Love Jones. I was down there at the Key Club. Now that particular building has been 18,000 different things since it was the Key Club. You know what I mean? But I hit there. It had to be like, I want to say maybe like early 2000s. It had to be something like that, 2001, 2, something like that. And I mean, I was so nervous. I tell people all the time, I was shaking like a crackhead. I just had my poem in my hand, it was on paper, okay.
I never forget dropping my little books, and I'm like, and then I asked Thomas Williams, I said, can I feature? And he laughed at me.
Oh, he's like, you is not ready.
Not ready. I had all my little books, and I was just like, dropping them everywhere.
That's when you have to give kudos to people who've been doing it for years, like Fluent, and the people who provide those platforms, like Katrina Storm and Sparrow. Those were the people who were running things back then, and they took time with little old T Elice, who didn't know she was T Elice yet. You know what I'm saying? So, I definitely get it. Now, you said you had a couple monikers. So, now, when you first started performing poetry, what was your
up until college, I think it was just, my name, like, and then I became misunderstood. Like, once Instagram happened, I became misunderstood, like MISS understood.
Okay.
And I for a couple of reasons, I stopped using that moniker because, one, there was already somebody named Misunderstood, and I was at 90s, and I got called up, and the host thought they knew, they pretty much called me up and gave a history about my name that wasn't mine.
Okay,
I didn't like that at all. So I knew I needed a different name from there.
Right.
But then also, what we speak is, so, like I was saying about the tones. So while I know it's misunderstood, the tone is misunderstood. So I don't want people to be, I don't want to be misunderstood, so I don't want to call myself that.
Got you.
Yeah.
Got you. Like that. And so you came up with Koffee Dark N Sweet.
Yeah, Koffee Dark N Sweet kind of came up with itself. So I actually in 2019 I was auditioning for the Motown mic.
Okay.
And that was the first time I ever used that name. And at the time, I was going through so much in my life. I was, exiting an abusive relationship, and I was discovering a lot about myself. And one of those things I discovered was how I liked my coffee, and it was dark and sweet.
Right.
So I got to the Motown mic, and they put your stage name down, and I just, and when Sparrow called it up, the way that he called the name up, I said,
he probably saw it. It was like,
yeah. He said, I don't know who this is, but Koffee Dark N Sweet, like, he really, it really had its own kind of energy, and so it kind of stuck from there,
Okay, so when you first did Motown, like you said, that was in 2019. Okay, so it was set up slam style at that time?
Yes.
How was it set up?
The first, like the intern auditions were set up slam style.
Okay.
And it was me and Native Child and Rap Talk. Who won in the same round, and it was a other Dismantle, I think, had one, because they had Dismantle. Yeah, they had different different days, and then I think they picked like 3 winners out of each one. Yeah. And so it was slam style, but then they gave us I think the prompt just had to be about Motown, like about Detroit as a city, and then you had to use the word Motown. You know what I'm saying? And you had to incorporate, some things specifically about Motown. They had us do a tour of the Motown Museum, which changed my life, actually, and made me even more proud, because I feel like I'm so proud. Every time I talk about how much I love Detroit, it's almost like it brings tears in my eyes. But
that's the coolest.
That tour really changed it elevated it up so much more, learning about the history of Berry Gordy's family, and just how how real, raw, and authentic Detroit actually is. But so we did the tour, and then we were at the Public Theater, Detroit Public Theater.
Oh, okay.
Or
the Public Theater.
Yeah, I think so. I might be wrong, but yeah, it was a beautiful experience. They had our pictures in the back while we performed. It was a live band.
Wow.
And my kids were in the audience. Oh, mommy, it was so cool. I think I came in third place that year, and Michaela won that year. Earned it.
Yes,
oh my God, I was
She
like,
is so
what?
dope. I
Not
can call her too.
Oh my God, the layers of her, and I learned so much from her poem. Like, she really killed it, and I'm like, okay, now, woo, yeah, she definitely had that fire going. But yeah, it was a awesome experience.
And see, we met at Motown Mike.
Yeah,
And it was 2022. And what was cool about the way that we met, it was because the world was still kind of locked down.
Yeah.
With the COVID situation.
Yeah.
So they had to change the entire scope of how they were doing it. So, you know, they did a free call for all online and just told people, you know, okay, this is the prompt. And I think we had to write a poem about Berry Gordy in Motown. Remember? Wasn't that what it was? Something to that effect.
No, because I don't think I mentioned Berry Gordy in mine. It wasn't.
It was something
it was
like we had to write about what Motown meant to the
us,
city,
or to us specifically.
Yeah. That's what it was.
What does Motown mean to you? Because they asked us that question when they did the interviews beforehand.
They sure did.
Yeah.
And the crazy part about it is that because the world was still shut down because of COVID, you know, everything, they were being extra careful with us, which I can appreciate at that time because it was a scary time, you know.
And they had just started the new construction of the addition to the museum, and so everything was new and pretty.
And they wanted to make sure they preserved it, and so we were able to like come into it, but they had to keep us kind of separated. You know what I mean? So we were on a
so we didn't actually get to like link up and actually like talk to each other until the day of the performance.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's when everybody got to really like see and meet each other.
Exactly. And then the crazy part is we had such a good vibe between the 10 of us that, you know, did it that year.
Instant camaraderie.
And it's the instant camaraderie. Everybody was chilling. Everybody was cool. But we didn't get to see each other perform because they had to keep it separated, you know, that way.
Yeah, we all went in the room individually. The judges weren't in the room.
Right. They were on screens, and it was lights, camera, action. I remember being shell-shocked, just like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm here. Like,
you know, the first time they didn't do feedback, I was so grateful for the feedback from the judges in 2022. I was very grateful for that.
Yeah, because it helps.
It definitely helps.
And they let you know what's working for you that you don't know is working for you. So that was an added feature, you know.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that's one of the greatest things. I hope somebody from Tristan, I hope you're watching, okay? Because you guys do a phenomenal job, and I love the way you switch it up.
And we felt so special and important. Like, that was the first time I felt like a star. Like, as an artist. I felt like a star. Yes, as a poet, which is not something we get to feel very often.
No,
and I still use those headshots.
You better to this
day. They're so beautiful.
For me, both sets, baby. This one I was a little thinner, this one I was a little thicker, but it's still beauty. You know, yes. And they take such good care. And we were laughing because we both were saying, you know, the years that we didn't place, you know, we were like, I ain't doing this no more. It takes too much out of me. You know, I'm emotional, can't do it, you know. But if you do decide to do it again, and they always find a way to make you want to do it again.
After seeing this years, I was like, count me in for sure.
You know, and so and it makes you want to bring the noise, and you always meet. And I've met so many dope people through that. I'm so glad that I took a chance on myself because I hadn't wrote any poetry in years.
Oh wow!
But I've been writing ever since.
What caused you to stop? I'm always curious. Like,
what makes you stop?
What makes poets stop? I couldn't do it if I tried.
Girl, you know what it is? Life. Sometimes, you know, like for me, I got sick right at the onset before we started calling COVID. Okay. I got sick with coronavirus, and because and lupus was laying dormant, so I got sick. You know, I lost an astronomical amount of weight, and we didn't know what was going on. It took forever for them to diagnose it. So at that point, I had gotten down and was so weak. It was about getting strength to just come up and down the steps. Get back, and mind you, because I always tell people, oftentimes when you meet people in artistry, you might meet them in one facet of artistry. 9 times out of 10, they love 2 or 3 other facets, and they are good at those things too, you know, and then they still got a 9 to 5,
Yeah.
Still got a family.
Running around.
You know what I'm saying?
Running around,
just
child.
all these things. You feel me?
Yes.
And so sometimes you just like, you know, I ain't got
But a
time
lot
to
of
be
people don't respect that
Mhm.
from artists, you know, and you confuse them and they like, oh, don't you make waffles, you know what I'm saying? Or don't you, you know, and they like, you know, try to
You're a
discredit
teacher.
you
You're a
as a,
teacher.
right,
You
as
know
an
what I'm
artist.
saying?
But,
Exactly.
you know, we all got day jobs. Or even if you don't, it's like, for me, I'm blessed because my day job is another one of my passions.
Mhm.
So I feel like everything I do is art. That's
what's up.
you know what I'm saying?
You know what
God
I mean?
is the artist, so he you know, everything
It has to
that
happen.
comes from that is
You
art.
know, but and the thing about it is, even when you get down sometimes and you kind of step away from it because you're paying, like at that time, I was paying too much attention to my recovery.
Right.
You know, I was just trying to get back.
Yeah, definitely.
But, and then that was always the goal. And I remember when they finally diagnosed me, I started taking medicine. I came down here, right? And I was so excited. I was getting back in my studio. But I still wasn't strong enough. I went to change chairs and wound up falling on the floor.
Oh, no.
And was just sitting here for a minute. Like, I got to get myself together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that is kind of how it evolved. So literally, I was telling my daughter, you know, I just need to, you know, get back into it. I need to get on somebody's stage. You know, I need to do this and do that. And my daughter saw the advertisement on Facebook for Motown Life.
Okay.
Put it on my page and was like, hey, mommy, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
And it was for me to do whatever I wanted to do with it. You know what I'm saying? When I saw the prompt, I was like, could they ask anybody more Detroit?
Okay.
Girl, what do
And she
Detroit
took
mean?
it
What
and
do
then she
Motown
ran
mean
with
to
it,
me?
okay?
Oh, it's going down. So I started,
Yeah.
I wrote the poem or whatever in its rawest form. And when I do this and it means something to me and I want to make an impression, I always run it by my family first. So I ran it by my mother, ran it by my husband, ran it by my daughter. And they all loved it. And I was like, okay, it's going down. I'm submitting. You know what I mean? And that's just how it started, you know, and then just that whole involvement. Thank God that they searched to, you know, have a bunch of companies that will invest into that situation because they give us a photo shoot. That was my first time having a professional photo shoot. I was scared to death. I really was. As much as I like to take pictures, I was up in that mug like, ooh, whoa, okay, hold on, stand this way. What you want me to do? What is it? You know, and it's
ready. I said, okay, you said what? It's my close up. Right.
I wasn't even used to that part of it. You know what I'm saying? I just was so, I was like Eddie Murphy. I'm just very happy to be here. Just, you know, whatever y'all need. I don't want to make too many waves. I'm just up in this piece, you know. So all of it, and then they take you through the, you know, you do the tour, the interview, they feed you, you know, they give you professional makeup. I remember the first time they did my makeup and she said, okay, well, I moved your hair out the way, so go to the bathroom, take a look at yourself, fix your hair, and come back out and we do your photo shoot. Girl, I walked in that bathroom and turned and looked at the mirror and was like, whoa!
That's how I was like,
whoa!
I was in there like having my own photo shoot before
I didn't know what I was expecting. But then the way they
Baby laid that
so
makeup
fast.
down, didn't she?
They do it so fast and you just be like, okay, because they're artists too.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? And then they got this canvas, they got this limited amount of time, and they got to make everybody equally as fly. And they do it to perfection every time. You know, especially with us ladies. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, ladies be like, I don't want to look like the Madame Doll. I don't want, you know, I want to look artificial. But they have a way of making everybody look beautiful. You know, it's the coolest situation. And like I said, that is how we came to this. You know, after this year, I was just like, okay, I got to do this platform. I'm meeting too many great people not to do something else with this whole scene. You know what I mean?
Art is like water in Detroit. Like, it's so, no, for real, like, everybody is some type of artist.
Yeah.
And I'm so blessed by that. Like, all the company I keep is just like, awesome. Yeah.
And it's the greatest situation. And, you know, it always feeds you. You know what I mean? It always feeds you. And that is what it's supposed to do. That's what it's supposed to do. At its core, you know, if you write something that makes you feel good when you're done writing it, then you know when you share it with somebody else, they're going to feel some kind of way too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, have you ever been performing? Well, let me say this. I have to ask this first. What is your poetic pet peeve? This question is for the curators, the people who are putting together venues and things of that nature. I feel like you need to always know from a poet's mouth, you know, what works, what doesn't work. So I ask, what is your pet peeve You know, what do you not like that you see in venues? And then what would you like to see that maybe is missing a little, you know?
I would say like, which I don't really have this problem anymore because I don't really do features without payment.
Right.
But
Mm-hmm.
you know, if you pass in the hat and it's only 12 people in the room, put some more money in there. Okay, that's actually how energetic investment started. I was tired of, I go and buy clothes and pay for Ubers and pay for babysitters and,
Yes.
take all this time and do my makeup or maybe have to
Yes.
take the day off depending on what my job is.
Yeah.
So it's costing me so much.
Mhm.
And not only that, but years of work, right?
Right.
And then I get there and you had me $25 out of hat and I'm really, I felt, very disrespected as an artist. And so I'm like, let me create something where artists get paid.
Right.
So, I went to the venues like, we need 120 for our artists,
Yep.
like up front. And that was the only thing they was paying for was the artist.
Was the artist.
And then we still passed the hat.
Yeah. Because if they, that is, hence the tip jar.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Because if people feel, now, when we do a live performance, that's what you want to make sure is that you
that you're being properly compensated.
Yes.
Because this is not just, it's our life, it is also our life's work. You know what I'm saying? We put a lot into this.
Yes.
But also, like, skipping artists if you sign up on an open mic list and you go in any order you want to, what's the list there for?
Exactly.
What's it there for?
Exactly.
Like, respect my time.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I've been to venues, I get there early, sign the list early, and it 1 o'clock in the morning and ain't nobody called my name kind of thing, which hasn't happened in a long time, but that's
right.
Like I said, that's another reason why I kind of started Energetic Investments. Like, let's be respectful of artists.
Now because you mentioned it a couple times, tell the crowd what Energetic Investments
Okay,
is.
so Energetic Investments is an organization that uses art as means to facilitate healing and stimulate the local economy. So we encourage every type of artist and we try to support them. It's been kind of under construction for a minute after the last Energy Fest, which we fed a lot of people. We had artists come out. We gave away clothing. It were people,
nice.
They left, right? And then they came back looking like brand new people. We had free haircuts, clothes, food. It was so dope.
Okay.
And a lot of artists volunteered and helped out with that. So everybody who did, thank y'all once again. I cannot wait to hit y'all up again because it's definitely something that we definitely will continue to do. But I feel like, if everybody artists, everybody eat.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to help create an environment for that.
See, y'all, that's what I love about doing these interviews because I always find out things about these people that I see, killing the game, and you have no idea what else they're doing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I love that. I love that.
So as far as like the question you asked before, I would say that's kind of it for my pet peeves. Well, no. I really don't like when everybody when everybody had the same reaction to every artist. Like at that point you just like clapping just to clap. You know what I'm saying? I would really like for the audience to be more responsible listeners, and we can't, like you said, with poetry being like on a what's coming up now, but you know what I'm saying, being on like a lower rung when it comes to other art forms.
Yes.
The last thing we need is like poetry that's not really poetry being encouraged. You know what I'm saying? So we as artists, that's why we need to commune with each other and we need to conversate, but also if you are a person who goes to open mics, listen. Listen actually to the poets. If you don't understand something, it doesn't mean that it didn't make sense. Ask the poet, what they meant. Start that conversation. Learn something,
Right. And you'll find most of the time that we love when y'all come talk to us.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? We get off the stage.
I've had whole friendships come from people from the audience asking me about my poetry, or
I done found myself at an event. I was the last showcase we was at with Fluent. I went to the bathroom and somebody stopped me, and before I know it, I was 10 minutes in the bathroom talking. You know what I mean? Because that's what it's about. You know what I mean? When you finally get through, because y'all don't know, poets go through nerves like you wouldn't believe, because we don't have the band, and many of us can't sing. Some of us can, but many of us can't. So we don't have anything else to rest on to wow y'all with. If you don't get the word, yeah, that's about it. So with that being said, we love that you give us a warm reception. I always like to create what I call a warm mic. Whereas I want every poet that steps to it to feel loved. Yeah. I never want to be that person that makes someone's first time uncomfortable. Because we all have had a first time. You know what I mean? So when you hear the term virgin on the mic, treat them special.
Respect the mic.
Respect the mic.
Yes.
Okay. And I think if I talked about my pet peeve, that's what it is. I have been in forums where the vibe was clicky. The vibe was clicky. And
I ain't even get there.
You know what I'm saying?
I didn't even get to that one.
Okay, the vibe, I had to put it on out there. The vibe be a little clicky. And, all the regulars be over in the corner cracking jokes and communing. Ain't nobody tripping on that. But y'all kicking it so tough in the back that you're interrupting that first-time poet. Or that mom who wrote a poem about losing her mom, and she is emotional on the stage on the mic, and y'all back here kikiing and kakaing so loud that you done forgot that there's a respect level to the microphone no matter who's in front of you. Not just your homies, you know what I'm saying? Not just the people who got the name recognition, but everyone that steps to the mic, because it's hard. It ain't the easiest thing to do. That's why everybody don't do it.
And you can't respect or protect poetry if you're not listening to the poets.
Word.
And that's as an audience member or another poet.
Girl, say that one more time.
You can't respect or protect poetry if you're not listening to the poets.
Bars. You know what I'm saying? So, just know that, but I get what you mean. Now tell me, what would you like to see more of? What are some of the good things that you've seen?
Well, I love how innovative everybody is getting. So the social media and how it's taken off and how it's taken poetry off, definitely keep going. Adding like cameras and putting logos and names and stuff. Sharp Pens does that. Poetry in the Park, you know what I'm saying? Give the artists make them feel special and important. Definitely a thing. I love how many open mics there is. Like, do not stop creating your own thing. Don't stop. I love that.
Exactly.
I love venues that are set up like how I want to say Love, Peace, and Unity. Yes, okay, I said it right. Love, Peace, and Unity is set up in the library, and it creates a listening environment.
Right,
because
in the library you got to be.
It's just
that's ideal.
Yeah, so I love all the innovation that's happening. I love like how the poets and other artists are kind of banding together and showing out and showing up for each other consistently. So I definitely love that I'm seeing for sure.
And see, that's the best thing when you can. I see, this is the thing. We want to always make sure that we fair. Right? So that's why I said, tell me your pet peeve first, because the people need to hear that. But if I'm going to tell you a pet peeve or something that's a little negative that needs to change, then we got to make sure that we dap y'all up for all the good that you're doing.
I feel like the competitive nature is turning more into a collaborative effort to make sure that Detroit poetry and Detroit poets are seen and heard consistently and shown in the best light. So gratitude, you know what I'm saying?
I mean? Definitely. So y'all doing the thing.
Yes.
And that's where we're finding all these lovely voices. You know what I'm saying? So now that I'm hearing about these events, soon as the weather breaks, because we're getting
sliding
cold
around,
and the
shivering.
Right? I'm getting out.